Let's get started with today's topic, dealing with unreasonable requests. We probably already seen that on daily basis at our work in the career field. We have a lot of unreasonable, outrageous requests from colleagues, from bosses, from clients, from customers. We have to deal with them. And I don't know whether you have a strategy or strategies to deal with that. Today, we were going to do a refresher to provide some insights and strategies, maybe to have a fresh view to deal with them. So let's first define unreasonable. Yeah, unreasonable actually is very subjective. It means beyond the bounds of reason and fairness. It could be unreasonable to you, but it's totally reasonable to other people. So this is subjective. We have to dig a little bit deeper. And the categories are mostly, for example, short time frames. Hey, can you finish this by tomorrow afternoon? Or can you do this like by the end of today? And that's 4:30 p.m. And yeah, this is due next Monday, and today is Friday. Yeah, short time frames and errors, ignorance, or miscommunication. Hey, can you finish this? Can you do that? And why don't you do this? There's a lot of errors, there's a lot of ignorance, and even downright miscommunication or ambiguous vagueness, no clear instructions, no clarity in those emails or requests. Those can be deemed as unreasonable. And also unethical requests. Say your boss is doing an MBA degree and he's asking, hey, can you finish this statistic assignments for me? Or can you book me this Amazon gift card for my daughter? Stuff like that, unethical requests, or even totally out of line requests, right? Those are, we can definitely classify as unreasonable. And also tasks outside your normal responsibilities. Like, hey, can you mail this thing for me? That's can be, okay. But hey, can you pick up the grocery for me? That's definitely not your normal responsibility. That's not what you sign up for, right? And a lot of times it's hard to say because we all have the tendency of pleasing other people, we all wanted to be mingled and be accepted inside the group, especially by our peers, our colleagues, and our bosses. But it is very hard to really being asked to do something that is out of our boundaries and out of our responsibilities. And also, they keep sending you tasks or keep sending you stuff without telling you priorities. One time you send, hey, finish this is very important. Then there's another one, very, very important, super important. Then which one is really important? Which one is the real prioritized work? You tell me. We do not know. So all in all, it gave us confusion, it gave us anger, it gave us a lot of negative energy, and stress could build up. So what may seem reasonable to one may also quite unreasonable to other. That's why it is still subjective. And how to decide if the request is unreasonable? We have to identify why it feels unreasonable. Gut feeling is a very good indicator. We want to know, hey, why I feel this thing uncomfortable. A lot of people like Norman Vincent Peale or a lot of gurus, they say, well, we wanted to have positive emotions all the time. But recently, there's this trend, especially people in the psychology field are trying to advocate that we do not want to ignore our negative feelings because those emotions are actually the clear indicator. They're like the canary in the coal mine trying to tell you, hey, this is not comfortable. This is not easy. This is not congruent and you need to do something about it, right? And we don't know, we cannot put the fingers on, but we just cannot express. But we need to identify why I feel uncomfortable, why I feel this is unreasonable. So maybe a lot of times it's like, oh, this task, I do not have time or outside my area of responsibility or won't be compensated for extra work. And this thing, you have to do it over the weekend, which you would not be compensated according to your experience or according to the company's compensation structure, or you simply do not have the resources, being material, financial, or human resource to handle the task. It could be either one of them or it could be all of them. So your emotions actually provide an important clue here. You do not want to ignore your emotions. Using that emotion to guide you to find the root cause, and then you wanted to tag that emotion to find why. So A lot of times we need to also audit, is it genuinely unreasonable, or simply I do not have resources to deliver it on an otherwise reasonable request. For example, this project, if you tell me to finish by Friday, the end of Friday, right now it's Thursday, 4 p.m., and I still have a lot of work on hand, a lot of unfinished businesses. If this work is due next Wednesday, it could be a reasonable request. But why? Why on Friday? So you wanted to look at the nature of the demand and its context. That is to communicate with the person who sent you the request. It could be your superior, could be your colleagues, could be your other stakeholders. Some organizations work peaks around certain time. Like I know a lot of CPAs here in this group during the tax season. Yeah, it's expected you will experience the surge of overflowing tasks. Sometimes it's a little bit unreasonable, but in a way it is reasonable because that is the nature of the work. And there may be a crisis, like if you're open listed company, if there's a public image or a crisis going on, like it happened to say you hired some celebrity that had a scandal, and then you are working for the public relation department. Yeah, of course, you get a call 3 a.m. and you have to go back to work. Yeah, right. It's a crisis may need to work outside your normal responsibility. That's expected. So we need to ask questions so you can better understand the reasons for the quest. A lot of people just take it, okay, I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel reasonable, but I feel like I hate confrontation. I hate asking. I don't want them to think negative of me. So I just take it, I swallow it. No, that's not a good strategy. So you want to ask questions to get clarifications from the person who sends you the request that you deem unreasonable. So the questions that you can ask are like, why is the task important? Why you want to do it by tomorrow? Why is that? And why is the deadline critical? Why it has to be finished by this day? Why? It is essential to find these answers to avoid unnecessary misunderstanding and resentment. Because believe it or not, we are all meaning-driven human beings. We can take a lot of unsavory conditions, but driven by favorable outcomes or expectations, right? I don't know whether you have watched a movie, Shawshank Redemption. That's a very good example. The reason why he could stay in jail for a crime that he didn't commit for 20 years was that expectation, was that hope. If he lost hope, he would hang himself. Probably he couldn't live year one. So it is the meaning that drive us, like the famous book from Viktor Frankl. Yeah, it's basically the logotherapy. Men search for meaning. That book basically tells we are meaning-driven beings. We have to find the meaning out of it. Okay, if the deadline is truly, truly critical, that is so dire that if I don't do it, this company will collapse. This project, this whole department will be axed. Then definitely I will do whatever I can to do it. But if the answer I got from you is because I want to, then that's truly, genuinely an unreasonable request. So we wanted to communicate, still communicating, to let that resentment, to let the emotions out so that we could handle it professionally. Just, okay, I need to know the nature of this thing. If it is truly important, if it is truly critical, yeah, I can do it. Otherwise, no. And once you have more information and you look at the request from the other person's point of view, sometimes, yeah, of course, a Friday night, it's your family night, it's your date night, it's whatever. You wanted to have a party and it's being hectic week and you want to relax. All of a sudden you got this request, the email, urgent, 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 urgent email. And you look at the request, you know that your boss is being recently having some crises inside her or his own household. Maybe she's going through a divorce. And also right now, her boss is pushing her the limit, is giving her way too many tasks that she's overwhelmed, she's burning out. Maybe this time you could think from her perspective to give a helping hand to truly help her to eliminate a little bit of the workload. Yeah. So that is also, this is the thing about it, empathetic, not just thinking from my perspective. Also, identify your values, then learn how to manage your boundaries. The values, like, let's just say Serena, for example, I do not work after hours, right? This is the boundary. This is your value. I do not work on weekends. If you got a boss sending you the email requesting you work after hours, doing 996 kind of style thing, or you have to do work on weekends, you have to report to work on Saturday afternoon, then you really need to see, okay, if this is a exception obviously can be made if this is the dire situation. However, we do not want this to be a routine. We do not want this to be a habitual thing that you know that I can make exceptions all the time. So identify your values. If you're a family first person, if you value your spare time, if you value your privacy, then by all means, let other stakeholders know and communicate that. And how do we handle the unreasonable requests? Number one, we wanted to depersonalize the situation, meaning we did not take things personally. Never take anything personally. Thing versus thing, business versus business. Now, set aside your emotions. Minimize using I and me, because if you overly use I and me, you would fall the trap of victimization. You would easily set your personal feelings inside this job, inside this matter. And you wanted to set a proper expectation for the time frame or propose a solution. Say you want me to finish this project by the end of the Friday, but I currently have these 2 projects on hand. They are also very important. Would you please give me a clear guideline which one I should do first? And then can you propose a solution? How can I do it if you were me? Yeah. Or if I'm going to do this, can you take other things out of my plate? This is a perfect chance to negotiate. Also a perfect chance to, even ask for a raise, because the crisis is a very good time to bargain your value. Yeah. Not to indulge in or not to abuse this thing, but if you play it well, it could be a chance to shine. Also, be professional, calm down, take deep breaths before responding. I know a lot of people, me included, sometimes we get furious emails, we got condescending emails, we got conniving emails. How are we going to handle that? We will send it immediately. Once that email is sent, it cannot retrieve. Consequences can be dire. So we wanted to manage our emotions. We wanted to maybe cool down, meditate, or take a deep breath, or take a walk before we actually reply that email. A lot of people get fired, or a lot of people's career got changed just by the one email. Email is the most scary thing. I strongly recommend each one of you, me included, do not take email lightly, because email, once it's sent, can never come back. And it's scary to say that a lot of times our jobs are like one email away from vanishing, right? It's in a way true. So we don't want to mess with it. Truly read twice, think 3 times before you send that email. Also be assertive. Assertiveness is the ability to say no diplomatically. The key word here is diplomatic. You want it to not sound rude. You also wanted to put your boundary, your baseline, and your stand clearly, unequivocally, unapologetically. Let other people know your stance. And show empathy. Show empathy. I'm so sorry. I know you are upset. I know you're a little bit overwhelmed. I would love to help. Unfortunately, right now, I am very full at my plate too. And as much as I want to help, unfortunately, I cannot help you at this time. Things like that. You can use certain verbiage. You can use certain phrases. I strongly recommend each one of us should accumulate or compile a template of emails. Then sometimes during those situations we can refer to, and we can use those emails to express our situation rather diplomatically. And also, we do not want to take them literally. Sometimes those requests we can negotiate. For example, hey, I will do whatever you want, okay? Like by the end of Friday. But this part I won't do. This part I won't do. And this part you have to do it for me. And this part, I don't know how to do it. I don't have resources. You have to support. Then this is the perfect time to bargain. This is the perfect time to negotiate. You do not want to take things just as a whole. Yeah. And also, it's a perfect time to propose a solution. Hey, how about we both meet this deadline and you do this part, I do this part, and maybe I think Mrs. So-and-so is better handling this. I know because she is currently in idle situation. She doesn't have a whole lot of work at hand. Maybe we could ask her support as well. If you don't know who she is, I can help because I know him. I work with him. I talk with him on a daily basis. Yeah. Solution can be proposed and suggestions can be, bring up. Just like offers, right? When you're negotiating for a house or you try to buy a car, you never take the first offer. You will just like a ping pong. You will play the game. Yeah. Sometimes for unreasonable requests, this is a perfect time to do it. And remember, sometimes it's appropriate to just say no. And some people, they are habitual people. They do things, they send unreasonable requests rather frequently. It's their personality. They're known for it. They send lengthy emails. I used to have a colleague. She was a professional typist. She can type up to 300 words per minute. So every time she basically just typed what she thinks. So basically it's a train of thoughts. Her email was like a foot long, basically. So what happened was we all end up ignore her emails. Yeah, we do not take her emails at all. We do not respond because we know those emails are not important, because if it's really truly urgent, she will call us. Yeah, she would knock on our doors. So remember, sometimes it's appropriate to just say no and also send a little bit message there. And when you have those unreasonable requests, it's a perfect time to review your responsibilities. That's why I highly recommend each one of you keep a manual of your employees. Always go back to the hiring recruitment page to see your role of responsibility, to see the scope of your work. This is my work. This is my responsibility. This is the scope of my work, but this is not. You can quote this. You can let other people know, hey, my title is this. This is my job, but my job, my responsibility is not listed here. I wonder if you understand this or not. Yeah. And revisit the scope of your role or the agreement. Read the manual and go back to the basics. It's always helpful to go back to the basics, to always look up the definition, the contract, to look at the contract. Hey, according to the contract, this is what we agreed upon. Not this, obviously not that, but you are requesting me this. How about a raise? How about a bonus? How about this, right? I mean, it can all be, put on the table if this unreasonable requests are fairly often, are fairly frequent. And also you want to still maintain good relationships. Like I said, it's purely professional, not personal at all. You send me on unreasonable requests, which I deem unreasonable because of this and this and this. But outside work, we still good people. I respect you as a person. That's something we wanted to be professional at this. Always communicate, communicate, and communicate. Never take the verbal request or the emails or instructions or whatnot just literally. There's always some room to talk about it, to communicate, to find out, to investigate. That not only could save you lots and lots of time, and you could also learn some inside information and then to get more intel to see the nature of the situation. So maybe you will be in a better position rather than in a very disadvantaged, taken advantage position. That is to build an image that you are willing to collaborate, but you also have a very strong stance that you are very assertive and you know your boundaries and you value your value to the heart. You do not easily compromise your value, and you will be more respected rather than abused. Thank you.